We are with Professor Jochen Wirtz. And Jochen, one of the themes you've always talked about is the importance of getting close to your customer, listening to your customer, and then taking what you learn from your customer and getting everybody in the organization to listen on it and act on it too. So these customer feedback systems or feed forward systems, you're one of the world's leading experts. Tell us what are the key points we need to have in mind about this.
Yeah, let me start with a quote from Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE.
Yeah.
And he said something to the effect, our competitive advantage is really two things. Number one, we listen better and faster to our customers than the competition. And the second is we are faster at translating that learning into action, into improved products and solutions, right?
Clear.
So we are better at listening, we are better and faster at implementing. So we run faster than competition, right? But then you contrast this to what Steve Jobs said. He said, look, I don't do customer focus groups. Customers don't know. And Henry Ford is famous for this quote. He said, if I had asked customers what they want, they would have said a faster horse, right? So who is right?
And meanwhile, he's building a car.
He's building a car. So who is right, right? GE or Apple here in this case, yeah? And of course, both are right. Yes, if you are working on an absolute breakthrough innovation that doesn't exist yet, your customers wouldn't be able to tell you.
Like putting 1,000 songs into your pocket with an iPod.
Yeah. How do they know how they will use this and what they like about it and
or
they
even
don't
that
like
it's
about
possible.
it? Yeah, absolutely, right? But on the other hand, if customers already use something, every customer will be able to tell you what do I like about it, what do I love about it, and what don't I like about it, right?
Good.
So then you know what you need to do to cement the strengths of what you have, but to also work on the weaknesses. Right?
Okay.
So both are right. So it's very important when you think about feedback systems, what are your objectives? What do you want to do with it, right? Mm-hmm. And so most feedback systems are really here to do continuous improvement, continuous learning. They're not here to do the next breakthrough innovation. That you have to do in your own think tanks and outside of a feedback system.
Okay.
A feedback system listens to existing customers about existing processes and products and services you have out there, and they can tell you what they love and don't like about it.
Clear.
Yeah, so there are a number of sort of objectives even in that space. Number one is I want to improve. Number two is I want to benchmark. Yes, benchmark means against competition, over time, against teams, across processes. Right? I want to compare something here. It could also be I want to bring the voice of the customer inside the organization to have a more customer-centric organization. And another one would be, hey, I want to use feedback to drive continuous change. So I build a culture of change and innovation and improvement that's there all the time.
Around listening to what it is our customers are saying, feeling, and sharing with us.
Yeah. The latter two, the culture for change and customer centricity, any feedback tool can achieve that.
Okay.
But the first two, the to improve and to benchmark, require very different tools. And most companies get that wrong. Yeah. Give an example, there's a customer satisfaction index of Singapore, or you have a customer satisfaction index or net promoter score or something like this in your organization, right? What these tools do, they're representative and they're reliable, right? Which means I can use them for benchmarking. Yeah? So I can tell I'm better than competition, I put all this money into training and now these processes work better, or this team is working better than that team, so I can allocate bonuses, I can measure KPIs and so on. So this is what I can do with the satisfaction index, yes? But what it does do, it basically measures temperature. How good am I? How happy are my customers?
It doesn't tell me where to change or how to improve.
It doesn't tell me why did I improve, how do I improve further, and so it doesn't tell me that, right? And other objectives, let's say like complaint content analysis, compliment content analysis, they give you very specific feedback on what is it your customers love about you, what is it your customers don't like about you, right? So it helps you really understanding strengths and weaknesses, but it's not representative and reliable. Yeah, because it's only you're very happy and
it's
you're very
anecdotal
unhappy. Yeah.
and it has an emotional component.
Yeah, so many reasons. So I always I have sort of two cute sort of anecdotes here on what do I use for what, or why do I need, let's say, representative and reliable. And I give one example, was many years ago, early days of internet, I booked a rental car in Marseille at the airport, a credit card guaranteed, had the car for a week, returned it. and the invoice was much higher than my guarantee. So I tried to argue with the counter staff, but they are French. They don't care. Yes, they. So, but what happened, I found out later, is that Marseille, I never take insurance, theft insurance for a car because I park the car in the hotel. So I don't need it. But in Marseille, because there's so much car theft, you don't get a car unless you have theft insurance. So although I clicked no, but the booking engine clicked yes, right? Plus, there were some airport surcharges that were specific to Marseille. They were all,
and you ended up with a higher price.
Yeah, and so I ask my students always, so how many complaints do I need to get to understand that there's something wrong with the booking engine for the Marseille airport? Yeah, I need one only. So forget about representative and reliable. One single comment can point you to a breakdown in a process
for a specific area in need of immediate improvement.
Yeah, even if you get a complaint about the call center staff. Today, everyone records calls, so you can listen back and look, is this customer unreasonable, or did my staff have a bad day? Or is this staff overall not performing very well? I can listen into different days, right? So all I want to say is this representative and reliable is not really needed for the to improve. One data point can help me.
Got it. So to benchmark, then I can use that kind of an index, but for an incremental, anecdotal ability to improve, I really only need to be listening to one.
Yeah. For the benchmark, let me give you another story. I was working with one of the big companies in Singapore. So they have retail shops, service centers, and we were doing what they called key market indicators, where we measured customer satisfaction and some other data. And so every 3 months I had a presentation. There was director retailing, director customer service, the shop managers, the managers of the service centers, and I present satisfaction levels. And so I go, let's say, Ron, congratulations, your shop is top within the company and outperformed the competitor benchmark shops. Congratulations. So how do you feel, Ron?
Well, I feel fine.
So fantastic. Say, hey, boss, did you hear, right? Let's talk bonus, let's talk promotion here, right? But then I talked to another shop manager. He said, look, what happened? You're at the bottom of the company. You're outperformed by your competitors. So how do you think these shop managers will respond? And initially, honestly, no one bought into the data. The first objective they had to say, hey, Jochen, when did you collect the data? How did you collect the data?
We're going to argue with the instrument and the deployment of it.
And then you tell them, say, oh yeah, this week, of course, this week, we had this fantastic promotion. The queue was wrapping around the shop. Of course, they were not happy. But did you see my sales? So what do you want, sales or satisfaction, right? So if you are not representative and reliable in your data, and people can plug holes into the numbers you have, this whole instrument is useless. So if either data point is not reliable, you can't say anything about the comparison over time across units or anything, right? So for this company, we built a very robust methodology that everyone was measured during the same time. We had the shifts, 50% during the week, 50% weekends, 25% morning shift, 25% afternoon shift, 50% evening shift.
So the design of this whole instrument had to be for representative and reliable.
Absolutely. So what I'm telling my clients always, if your objective is to improve, I can give you a very cheap one-page thing, and that I do with everyone, is the 3 things you like best about me, the 3 things you like least about me, and the 3 things you would like me to focus on to improve. And you do a very simple frequency count, and you sit with your team, you cement the strengths, you understand what you do really, really well, and make sure you continue this. And then you look at, okay, on the weak points, the top 2, 3 like least, what can we do about them?
Let's work on them now. Yes.
And make sure next time they're not there. So I always try to take companies the fear away. Feedback system can be very simple and practical. It can be very low cost.
Effective for being able to produce improvements.
Yes, absolutely right. And maybe a last point I want to say is what I find very effective for feedback. It makes improvements impersonal. It's not anymore I say. Because usually it's customer service that deals in all the organizations with all the problems. But rarely they're the cause of the problems. The cause is very often IT.
Something further up the chain that caused the design or the delivery, the execution.
It's risk management, it's finance, it's operations, God knows, right? So what you then do is you have the complaints, but you have no power over redesigning that process, right? And what you do now with the feedback is not anymore I telling.
Let me show you what our customers are
This
saying.
is what the customers are saying. You know, and one of the big companies in Singapore I know and work with, they have the CEO sit with the SVPs every week, and where they discuss these comments, and it's a cross-functional team that then looks on how to fix these things. I'll give you one example, right? They had customers that were with them for many, many years. For whatever reason, health problems, unemployment, whatever. They were not able to pay the bill anymore, but finance had sold these invoices to a collection agency who then mercilessly, of course, collects this money. But that created a lot of unhappiness with the customer base. I've been your customer for 15 years and now you send me debt collectors, right? So what they do now is before they sell an invoice, they look what happens here and maybe even call the customer. And if there's a health issue, maybe even you write off the bill. This is how you create goodwill. You don't want to punish a customer who has been with you forever because they ran into trouble, right? So I mean, these are some of the solutions that come out and you only can do in a cross-functional part, and you can only make it objective and less personal by saying, this is a customer problem. How can we as a team, as a company, fix that?
So you've made a very clear differentiation between two different components of a feedback system. And what I understand is you're recommending both?
Well, I mean, depending where you are on this journey, if you're a world-class company, of course you do the benchmarking. If you want to incentivize anything to do with customer service, customer satisfaction, right? You need to have the benchmarking, which then means a bit more money, a bit more expensive, right? But having said that, many companies now buy third-party solutions. So if you think of the hospitality, for a few $100s, you get a complete analysis on a per property basis.
Metrics. Yeah.
So there are complete solutions out there. It doesn't always have to be expensive. But if you do it in-house and you do questionnaires and B2B often tends to be...
And it has to be credible and reliable because you're going to tie performance bonuses to it, etc.
But I mean, when I work with clients, I always tell them, look, very often they kindly have pages and pages of interview questions. I usually tell them, look, separate your objectives very clearly. You ask maybe 3 questions on the satisfaction. I always ask them that I capture share of wallet, share of heart, right? Or behavioral loyalty, attitudinal loyalty. It's like, how satisfied are you with me? Will you buy again? Will you recommend me?
Done.
And index and done. And it's a very short question. Yeah, and I use this as my index, and I can then allocate this to product lines, to processes, to teams, to units, right? But then the like best, like least type of thing, I don't even ask a central unit to do this. I ask the teams, and if you ask your customers yourself, send them an email, get it back. So I'm Vice Dean at the business school. I ask my team, ask the current class, like best, like least, you understand what you're doing right and where we can do better, right? So it can be cheap and cheerful.
Very good. Cheap and cheerful and highly effective customer feedback systems. Thank you again for another master class with Professor Jochen Wirtz.
Thank you, Ron.